FMF warfare device. The eagle, globe, and anchor, Marine Corps emblem, are centered on the breast insignia as the capstone of the warfare device, clearly stating that the wearer is a member of the Navy/Marine Corps team. When the device was designed, forward, from the sea, was the Navy and Marine Corps joint vision for the future. This is represented in the background of the device, a surf wave crashing on the sandy beach, the littoral zone, the place where sailors have served alongside Marines as they earned their reputation, on the shores of Tripoli, and the sands of Iwo Jima. The world's littoral, or coastal, regions are also where the Navy and Marine Corps team will exert the U.S. interests in future conflicts as reflected in the doctrine of the time, operational maneuver from the sea. Warfare programs have instilled warrior ethos in sailors and enhanced mission effectiveness in both individual and unit survivability since their inception. On ships and submarines, every sailor is trained as a firefighter and damage control man to fight and save the ship in an emergency. With the Marines, it is essential in combat for every person to have the knowledge and skill of a rifleman if the unit is to survive. The two crossed rifles symbolize the rifle ethic the warfare program is designed to instill in sailors assigned to the Marines. The scroll along the bottom of the breast insignia is emblazoned with Fleet Marine Force. Although the Marine component was established in 1992, it significantly changed the operational environment in which Marine Corps forces deploy and operate in a joint environment. The Navy continues utilizing the Fleet Marine Force title as a naval-type commander. Therefore, since warfare programs are a distinct part of Navy culture, our warfare program should be titled after the role in which Marine forces are tied to the Navy. 1775 The Marine Corps was created on November 10, 1775 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at Tun Tavern by a resolution of the Continental Congress, which raised 2 battalions of Marines. Captain Samuel Nicholas became the commander of these 2 battalions and is traditionally considered the first commandant of the Marine Corps. 1776 The first Marine landing took place during the Revolutionary War. Marines invaded New Providence Island in the Bahamas and seized guns and supplies. The day's uniform had a stiff leather stock worn around the neck, thus the nickname Leatherneck. 1805 Marines stormed the Barbary pirate stronghold at Burma on the shores of Tripoli. Marines raised the Stars and Stripes for the first time in the Eastern Hemisphere. 1834 The Marines were organized under the Department of the Navy, DON. 1847 During the Mexican War, Marines occupied the halls of Montezuma during the Battle of Chapultepec in Mexico City. The Royal Palace fell to invading Marines, among the first United States troops to enter the capital. Marines also helped take California. 1859 Under the command of Colonel Robert E. Lee, U.S. Army Marines stormed the United States Arsenal at Harper's Ferry to put down an attempted slave revolt led by abolitionist John Brown. 1868 The Marine Corps adopted an emblem that consisted of an eagle, a globe, and an anchor. Brigadier General Jacob Zeilen, the 7th Commandant, modified the British, Royal, Marine emblem to depict the Marines as both American and maritime. The globe and anchor signify worldwide service and sea traditions. The spread eagle is a symbol of the nation itself. 1883 The official motto of the Marine Corps, Semper Fidelis, Latin for, always faithful, was adopted. The phrase is commonly heard by its abbreviation, Semper Fi. 1900 In support of foreign policy, Marines from ships on the Asiatic Station defended the American legation in Peking, China, during the Boxer Rebellion. The Marines were part of a multinational defense force that protected the legation quarter against attack. This small defense force held out against the Boxers until a relief force reached Peking and ended the rebellion. 1912 The Marine Corps established its aviation unit. Marine Major Alfred A. Cunningham was the first pilot. His first solo flight, 1 STLT at the time, occurred on August 1, 1912. 1917 Marines landed as part of the American force in France. Marines participated in 8 distinct operations, distinguishing themselves, and were awarded a number of decorations, among them the French Forager, still worn by members of the 5th and 6th Marines. 1933 The Marine Corps was reorganized into the Fleet Marine Force, formally establishing the command and administrative relations between the Fleet and the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps Equipment Board was established at Quantico, Virginia, and Marines began to devote long hours to testing and developing materials for landing operations and expeditionary service. 1965 Marines landed in South Vietnam, and conducted numerous large-scale offensive operations throughout the course of the war, as well as participated in the pacification program designed to win the support of the local populace. In response to an attempted coup of the local government, Marines landed in the Dominican Republic to evacuate and protect U.S. citizens. The Marines formed the core of a multinational force that quickly restored the peace. 1982 Marines deployed to Beirut, Lebanon as part of a multinational peacekeeping force in an effort to restore peace and order. This action further displayed the Marine concept of a force in readiness. 1983 On October 23, 1983, a suicide truck bomb attack on the building serving as barracks for 1st Battalion 8th Marines killed 241 Americans and wounded 70 others. The last Marine unit withdrew in July of 1984. 1991 Operation Desert Storm was launched after the Iraqi government invaded Kuwait and refused to comply with United Nations resolutions demanding their withdrawal. Marine aviation was heavily used and the air phase commenced in January of 1991. When massive bombing failed to dislodge Iraqi forces, Marine ground forces swept into Kuwait and liberated the country, causing severe damage to the Iraqi military capability. 2001 September 11, 2001. Terrorist attacks were carried out in New York City. 2 civilian airline planes were hijacked and flew into the World Trade Center. Operation Enduring Freedom, OEF, is the official name used by the U.S. government for the war in Afghanistan, together with 3 smaller military actions, under the umbrella of the Global War on Terror, GWOT. On October 7, 2001, early combat operations including a mix of strikes from land-based B-1 Lancers, B-2 Spirit and B-52 Stratofortress bombers, carrier-based F-14 Tomcat and F-18 Hornet fighters, and Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from both U.S. and British ships and submarines signaled the start of Operation Enduring Freedom. 2003 The invasion of Iraq, from March 20 to May 1, 2003, was led by the United States, alongside the United Kingdom and smaller contingents from Australia and Poland. 4 countries participated with troops during the initial invasion phase. The Battle of Belleau Wood, on June 6, 1918, Marines fought one of their greatest battles in history at Belleau Wood, France. During World War I, Marines helped to crush a German offensive at Belleau Wood that threatened Paris. In honor of the Marines who fought there, the French renamed the area, the Wood of the Brigade of Marines. German intelligence evaluated the Marines as storm troops, the highest rating on the enemy fighting scale. In reference to the Marines' ferocious fighting ability, German troops called their new enemy Teufelhunden, or Devil Dogs, a nickname in which Marines share pride. The Battle of Guadalcanal, on August 7, 1942, the 1st Marine Division landed on the beaches of Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands and launched the first United States land offensive of World War II. This battle marked the first combat test of the new amphibious doctrine, and also provided a crucial turning point of the war in the Pacific by providing a base to launch further invasions of Japanese-held islands. Amphibious landings followed on the remaining Solomon Islands including New Georgia, Bougainville, and Choiseul. The Battle of Tarawa, the Gilbert Islands were the first in the line of advance for the offensive in the Central Pacific. The prime objective was the Tarawa Atoll and Bidio Island, which had been fortified to the point that the Japanese commander proclaimed that it would take 1,000,000 Americans 100 years to conquer it. On November 20, 1943, Marines landed and secured the island within 76 hours, but paid a heavy price in doing so. Because of an extended reef, landing craft could not cross it and Marines were offloaded hundreds of yards from the beaches. This led to heavy losses from enemy fire. Additionally, many Marines drowned while attempting to wade ashore. The Battle of Mariana Islands, due to the need for airfields by the Air Force and advanced bases for the Navy, the Marianas were invaded. Landings on the islands of Saipan, Guam, and Tinian accomplished this. During June and July of 1943, Lieutenant General Holland M. Howland "Mad" Smith led a combined invasion force of Marines and soldiers that totaled over 136,000. This was the greatest number of troops up to that time to operate in the field under Marine command. Battle of Okinawa, on April 1, 1945 until June 22, 1945, Marines took part in the last and largest battle of the Pacific, which involved 287,000 troops. The battle was crucial for securing vital air bases that would be used for the planned invasion of the Japanese mainland. By the end of the 82-day campaign, the Japanese suffered over 77,000 casualties and the Allies received 65,000, including 14,000 dead. 23 medals of honor were awarded. The Battle of Iwo Jima, on February 19, 1945, Marines landed on Iwo Jima in what was the largest and bloodiest all-Marine battle in history. The Marine Corps suffered over 23,300 casualties. The capture of Iwo Jima greatly increased the air support and bombing operations against the Japanese home islands. Of the savage battle, Admiral Chester W. Nimitz said, "Among the Americans who served on Iwo Island, uncommon valor was a common virtue." Note, in June 2007, Japan changed the name of Iwo Jima back to its pre-World War II name of Iwo-to. The Battle of Chosin Reservoir, in November of 1950, during the Korean War, Marines pushed far into North Korea and were cut off after the Chinese Communist forces entered the war. Despite facing a 10-division force sent to annihilate them, Marines smashed 7 enemy divisions in their march from the Chosin Reservoir. The major significance of this retrograde movement was that Marines brought out all operable equipment, properly evacuated their wounded and dead, and maintained tactical integrity. The Battle of Hue City, during the Vietnamese holiday of Tet in January of 1968, Communist forces launched a surprise offensive by infiltrating large numbers of their troops into the major population centers of Hue City, South Vietnam. A near-division-size unit of North Vietnamese Army, NVA, troops occupied the city of Hue and the citadel. Marines fought in built-up areas for the first time since the Korean War, foregoing the application of heavy arms to minimize civilian casualties. Fighting was house to house with progress measured in yards. The city was secured on February 25, 1968. The First Battle of Fallujah, codenamed Operation Vigilant Resolve, was an unsuccessful attempt by the United States military to capture the city of Fallujah, Iraq. On April 4, 2004, 1st Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment, 1/5, attacked the city's industrial center, and the 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, 2/1, pushed south through the northwestern urban district. They met harsh resistance, and by April 10, March 4 and February 2 were committed to the still raging conflict. The Second Battle of Fallujah, 2 distinct operations, Operation Al-Far and Operation Phantom Fury, took place during the Second Battle of Fallujah on November 7, 2004. Operation Al-Far, Arabic, the Dawn, represented a major success for the Iraqi government and coalition forces. The attack force included 9 U.S. Army and Marine battalions, 6 Iraqi battalions, and attack aviation from all of the military services, to include naval air flying off an aircraft carrier. The full assault force included some 12,000 Marines, soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Iraqi Security Forces, ISF. The keys to successful integration of this joint and coalition force were complementary war-fighting capabilities, a single chain of command, advances in technology, and the unifying vision of liberating a city from the oppressive grip of the insurgents and terrorists. The assault and subsequent reconstruction efforts turned Fallujah from an insurgent base of operations into the cornerstone of progress in the Al-Anbar province. Operation Phantom Fury was a joint U.S.-Iraqi-British offensive led by the U.S. Marine Corps against the Iraqi insurgency stronghold in the city of Fallujah, which was authorized by the U.S.-appointed Iraqi interim government. The carefully designed and skillfully executed attack took place on November 7, 2004 and employed regimental combat teams, RCTs, 1 and 7 attacking south into the city. The Marines were well supported by Army mechanized infantry and cavalry units. This inter-service and fully coordinated air-ground approach gradually overwhelmed the insurgents trapped in the city. The dense urban fighting was fierce, and conducted house by house and rooftop to rooftop. Operation Strike of the Sword, Operation Khanjar was an American-led military offensive against the Taliban in Helmand province in southern Afghanistan. Approximately 4,000 Marines from the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Brigade along with 650 Afghan Army soldiers took part in the offensive. The operation began when the U.S. and Afghan forces entered the Helmand River Valley in the early morning of July 2, 2009. This operation was the largest Marine offensive since the Battle of Fallujah in 2004. The operation was also the biggest offensive airlift by the Marines since the Vietnam War. Units involved in the offensive include 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines, 2nd Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion and 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. The Battle of Marja, also known as Operation Moshtarak, Dari word for together. In February 2010 Operation Moshtarak reclaimed Marja, a strategic agricultural hub and narco-terrorist safe haven in the Helmand River Valley. Together with thousands of Afghan national security forces, the Marines tangibly improved the geopolitical landscape of southwestern Afghanistan. Archibald Henderson, Brevet Brigadier General Archibald Henderson became commandant in 1820 and held his command for 39 years until his death in 1859. General Henderson led the Corps through the Indian Wars, the war with Mexico, the opening of China, and the disorders in Central America. The Grand Old Man of the Marine Corps, as he is often called, introduced higher standards of personal appearance, training, discipline, and strived to have the Marine Corps known as a professional military force, capable of more than just sea and guard duties. John Quick, Sergeant Major Quick is remembered for his performance in 1898 at Cuzco Well, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, where he participated in an operation to seize an advanced base for the Atlantic Fleet Battalion of Marines. Sergeant Major Quick earned the Medal of Honor for semaphoring for an emergency lift of the naval bombardment while under Spanish and American shellfire. Dan Daly, Sergeant Major Daly is recognized for earning 2 Medals of Honor, 1, Chinese Boxer Rebellion and, 2, First Caco War in Haiti. When his unit had been pinned down and their attack stalled during the Battle of Below Wood, then Gunnery Sergeant Daly yelled to his men, "Come on, you sons of AB, do you want to live forever?" Louis B. Chesty Puller, Lieutenant General Puller served in Nicaragua through several periods of political unrest and rebellious activity in 1930. Puller and a force of about 32 Marines became famous for their ability to engage rebel groups and bandits while scouring the jungles in a wide area of Nicaragua to the Honduran border. Puller became known as the Tiger of the Mountains, 1930. The Marine Corps' mascot, an English bulldog named Chesty, is named for this brave and fine Marine Corps officer. He was awarded a total of 14 personal decorations in combat, plus a long list of campaign medals, unit citation ribbons, and other awards. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross and his 5th Navy Cross for heroism, during the bitter fight to break out of Korea's chosen reservoir area. Gregory R. Pappy Boyington, Major Boyington is recognized for marine prowess in aerial dogfights. Pappy commanded VMH 214, the Black Sheep, during World War II. By the end of the war, the Major was recognized as the Marine Corps' top-ranking flying ace with 28 victories, kills. He was awarded the Medal of Honor on October 5, 1945 for his actions against enemy Japanese forces in Central Solomons area from September 12, 1943 to January 3, 1944. Ira H. Hayes, Corporal Ira Hayes, a Pima Indian, was one of the Marines immortalized in the now famous photograph taken of the second flag raising on Mount Suribachi, taken on February 23, 1945. Alpha Mae Johnson, Private Johnson became the Marine Corps' first enlisted woman on August 13, 1918. Her enlistment was a reflection of the dramatic changes in the status of women brought about by the entry of the United States into World War I. Marine Reserve, F, was the official title by which the Marine Corps' first enlisted women were known. They were better known as Skirt Marines and Marinettes. Margaret Eva Brewer, Brigadier General Brewer, then a colonel, served as the Director of Women Marines, WM, during the period 1973 to 1977. She was the 7th and last Director of WM, the only post-World War woman to hold the position. Margaret Brewer became the Marine Corps' first woman general officer on May 11, 1978. Robert E. Bush, on May 2, 1945, during the battle for Okinawa, hospital apprentice First Class Robert E. Bush administered blood plasma to a wounded Marine officer with one hand, and returned fire with the other, amidst the perilous battle conditions. For his conspicuous gallantry on this occasion, he was presented with the Medal of Honor by President Harry S. Truman on October 5, 1945, during Nimitz Day celebrations at the White House in Washington, D.C. He was the youngest World War II Navy man to receive the Medal of Honor. Robert R. Ingram, Petty Officer Ingram accompanied the Point Platoon as it aggressively engaged an outpost of a North Vietnamese Army, NVA, Battalion Republic of Vietnam on March 28, 1966. As he moved forward, a tree line suddenly exploded with an intense hail of automatic rifle fire from approximately 100 NVA soldiers. Oblivious to the danger, he crawled across the battlefield to reach a downed Marine. As he administered aid, a bullet went through the palm of his hand. Receiving 2 more wounds, with the 3rd wound being a life-threatening one, he continued to resupply and aid others. While dressing the head wound of another corpsman, he sustained his 4th bullet wound. From 1600 hours until almost sunset, he pushed, pulled, cajoled, and doctored his Marines. Petty Officer Ingram's gallant actions saved many lives and he was awarded the Medal of Honor. Jason Dunham, Corporal Dunham led his combined anti-armor team towards an engagement in Huzaybah, Iraq on April 14, 2004 to provide fire support to their battalion commander's convoy, which had been ambushed. While wrestling an insurgent to the ground he saw a grenade being released. Aware of the imminent danger and without hesitation, he covered the grenade with his helmet and body, bearing the brunt of the explosion and shielding his Marines from the blast. He was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, and a U.S. Navy destroyer now bears his name. Dakota Meyer, Corporal Meyer maintained security at a patrol rally point while other members of his team moved on foot into the village Ganjgal in Kunar Province, Afghanistan on September 8, 2009. More than 50 enemy fighters ambushed the patrol, firing rocket-propelled grenades, mortars, and machine guns from houses and fortified positions on the slopes above. He took the exposed gunner's position in a gun truck as they made several trips in to evacuate the dead and wounded members of his team as well as Afghan soldiers. Corporal Myers was awarded the Medal of Honor for his daring initiative and bold fighting spirit throughout the 6-hour battle significantly disrupted the enemy's attack. How to salute. Begin your salute in ample time, at least 6, but not more than 30 paces away. Hold your salute until it is returned or acknowledged. Accompany the salute with an appropriate greeting. Look squarely at the person or colors being saluted. Render the salute only once if a senior remains in the immediate vicinity. Render the salute again if conversation takes place when a senior leaves or when you depart. Note: do not interrupt the conversation to salute another senior unless the officer to who you are speaking salutes a senior. Salute in a group. If your group is not in formation, then the first person to notice an officer approaching calls the group to attention and salutes for the group, or entire group salutes the officer. If your group is in formation, then the senior person calls the formation to attention and salutes for the group. Salute when passing an officer who is going in the same direction as you. Come abreast of the officer, salute and say, "By your leave, sir, ma'am." Officer returns the salute, and says, "Carry on," or "Granted." Terminate your salute and pass ahead. Salute officers, regular and reserve, of the Navy, Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and foreign military and naval officers whose governments are formally recognized by the U.S. government. Do not salute when at work indoors, except when under arms. A prisoner or guarding prisoners. Under battle conditions. In ranks, at games, or part of a working detail. At crowded gatherings, in public conveyances, or in congested areas, unless you are addressing or are being directly addressed by a senior. Doing so would physically interfere with your performance of an assigned duty. Or would create a hazard. While your blouse or coat is unbuttoned. With a smoking device in your hand. Rank pay grade. General, Gen, 0 to 10. Lieutenant General, LT Gen, 0 to 9. Major General, M Gen, 0 to 8. Brigadier General, B Gen, 0 to 7. Colonel, Col, 0 to 6. Lieutenant Colonel, LT Col, 0 to 5. Major, Maj, 0 to 4. Captain, 0 to 3. First Lieutenant, First LT, 0 to 2. Second Lieutenant, Second LT, 0 to 1. Chief Warrant Officer, CWO, 5, W, 5. Chief Warrant Officer, CWO, 4, W, 4. Chief Warrant Officer, CWO, 3, W, 3. Chief Warrant Officer, CWO, 2, W, 2. Warrant Officer, WO, 1, W, 1. Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps E, 9. Sergeant Major, SGT Maj, E, 9. Master Gunnery Sergeant, MGYSGT, E, 9. First Sergeant, 1 STSGT, E, 8. Master Sergeant, MSGT, E, 8. Gunnery Sergeant, GYSGT, E, 7. Staff Sergeant, SSGT, E, 6. Sergeant, SGT, E, 5. Corporal, CPL, E, 4. Lance Corporal, LCPL, E, 3. Private First Class, PFC, E, 2. Private, E, 1. If you are neither in formation nor in a vehicle, then render the prescribed salute and hold the salute until the last note of music is sounded. If no flag is near, then face the music and salute. If you are in formation, then salute only on the command, present arms. If you are outdoors and uncovered, then stand at attention and face the direction of the flag or music. If you are indoors, then stand at attention, face the music and/or flag. If you are in a vehicle, then driver halt vehicle, passengers and driver remain seated at attention and do not salute. If you are passing or being passed by an unkissed color which is being paraded, presented, or is on formal display, then salute at 6 paces distance and hold the salute for 6 paces beyond or until it has passed your position by 6 paces. If you are uncovered, then stand or march at attention when passing or being passed by an unkissed color. Note, when the flag is raised at morning colors or is lowered at evening colors, stand at attention at the first note of the national anthem or, to the colors, standard, and render the prescribed salute. If you are engaged in a duty, which would become a safety hazard or risk to property, do not salute. Usually face the flag while saluting, but if your duty requires it, face in another direction. When the music sounds, carry on, resume regular duties. Render honors while boarding and departing naval vessels. Boarding a naval ship between 0800 to sunset. Face aft upon reaching the top of the gangway, brow. Salute the national ensign. Salute the officer of the deck, OD, who will be standing on the quarterdeck at the head of the gangway. Request permission to come aboard. Departing a naval ship between 0800 and sunset. Salute the OD and request permission to go ashore. Go to the brow, turn aft, and salute the national ensign. Board and depart a naval ship between sunset and 0800. Follow the above procedures but do not turn aft and do not salute the national ensign. Note, boarding a small boat or ship by inverse order of rank, the junior goes first, and the others follow according to rank.